Hello YouTubers, I wanted to make a video today on my coming out story. I had seen this video, this type of video done on some other channels, and was inspired to, reach out to my community and try to give my input and my story in hopes that it would help someone with their situation that they're going through. So to get started with my coming out story, as a child, I must have been about 5 or 6 years old, I felt the desire or attraction of the same sex. And I realized this with the relationship of my best friend and I at the time. I noticed and I observed other children's relationships and other boys' relationships and other girls' relationships, and I noticed that my relationship with this person was different. We both shared almost a romantic side. I won't say romantic, obviously, because we were about 5 or 6 and we weren't even educated on that aspect of life, but there was something there that was deeper than just a friendship. And this is the time in my life that I realized, I'm attracted to the same sex, and I didn't see any problem with it. Now, as I grew older, I realized that homosexuality and heterosexuality were completely different things, and that heterosexuals were the majority, and that homosexuality was frowned down upon. Being that this was the situation and what I learned, I didn't want to fit into the minority because I felt like an outcast, and I felt like a freak, like the black sheep of the flock. And so throughout elementary school, I was fine, and I obviously didn't really have any desire. I didn't really think anything of it, but I remember having crushes on the same sex, and most of my friends of the time were all boys. So as I hit middle school, I noticed that we were obviously changing, we were developing in different ways, and I noticed I started to get teased a lot more by children of my same sex. The boys and friends that I had made over the years were now making fun of me because their voice was deepening and masculinizing, if that's a word, and mine remained very feminine and I guess a lot less than what they had expected. And so because of this, I started migrating more towards girls and making friendships with girls. And I finally started to feel like I was part of something, part of a group, because I had felt like that in elementary school, but I recognized that I was obviously a little bit different. And so by the time high school came around, I had turned into somewhat more of an introvert, and I was very not so much shy, but I think I was more standoffish, simply because I was anticipating being made fun of for being different. And this created some issues with me in terms of just mental health and things that you go through when you're going through puberty, and just feeling alone and feeling like you don't have anyone else to turn to, and it was always a difficult situation at home because my father, although he was not homophobic, he did occasionally make homosexual or homophobic slurs rather, and so I always felt like that was a situation that I shouldn't even attempt going into. Now, my mother, on the other hand, me and her had a very different relationship. My mother, my sister, and some of my best friends throughout high school, we all had a very good relationship. I felt that there was no sex between us. It didn't matter what our gender was. We were all just part of one another's lives, and that was secondary. It didn't even matter, you know. And so, my senior year of high school, my mother passed away when I was 17 years old in a tragic accident. She was 52 years old, and that deeply changed my life forever. It was a situation and a time in my life that was the most difficult that I have yet treaded through, but definitely an enormous growing experience. About 4 months after my mom passed away, my sister and I were sitting in the living room, and we were just discussing, you know, everyday situations, things that were bothering us that week, and I decided to come out to my sister. I said, you know, I'm sure that you know this, because I feel that our relationship since I was a little boy has always been deeper than it might have been had I been a different way. But I want you to know that I am gay and I have a boyfriend. I had a boyfriend at the time. She hugged me and we both started crying and we exchanged tears and words, and she told me that she would always be there for me, and she mentioned that she kind of figured that I was gay and that she loved me regardless. She also mentioned that a lot of the family had always kind of wondered my orientation, because I had never brought girlfriends around. Most of my friends were girls, and I rarely talked to any guys, and so all the arrows kind of pointed to me being homosexual. I would say about 4 months later or so, Thanksgiving holiday was coming around, and I decided to take one of my friends to Thanksgiving dinner at my family's. Now, I didn't have a boyfriend at the time, but I thought, you know, my brother usually takes his girlfriend, my sister usually takes her husband, and I felt it was time that I didn't need to tell them, but I figured there was another way of just going into the situation, because it would be a type of situation that would kind of cause them to either have to accept it or, you know, just live with it and deal with it. And I had come to terms in my own mind and said, you know, I realized that this could be a life-changing situation in my life, and I realized that I may end up very alone, but I am not going to jeopardize my happiness any longer for what society and for even what my family members wanted or expected of me. So on Thanksgiving, I decided to invite one of my friends, and I introduced him as my boyfriend. And that evening it seemed to go really well. You know, my family was polite, they were all kind to each other, and the following days led up to a couple of my family members coming up to me and really, I guess, just sharing how proud they were of me and what I had done, and thanking me for sharing that aspect of myself to them. And so since then, It has been wonderful. My life has been changed in so many ways. I mentioned to all of them that, I never felt that I needed to tell any of them because my brother never had to tell any of them he was heterosexual. And so I felt I didn't have the need to tell them I was homosexual. I thought it was just something that could be unsaid. And, I was scared going into it because I realized that, like I said, it could be a life-changing situation, but at the end of the day, it was my happiness. And I was not going to continue living the rest of my life being unhappy and putting on this mask every day for everyone else, because they're not the ones living my life, I am. And so my friends had already known by this point. My brother found out. One of my best friends asked me if she could tell him for me, and the reason for that is because he asked her at a party, and so she went ahead and told him the situation, and he was kind of uncomfortable with it at first, but over time he realized that this was just a tiny aspect of my entire being, and it wasn't a negative aspect. It was just a piece to the puzzle, or a part to the picture. And since then, my brother's relationship and mine has blossomed into one that I am so grateful for, and I am so blessed to have a brother like that in my life, because he is such an amazing person, such a guardian, such an influence, and such an inspiration to me, that I am so glad that he is part of my life still, because I was scared for so long that it might change the dynamics of our relationship. And the same goes for my sister. Me and her have an amazing relationship, better than I think we have ever had. And I guess I would just like to give my message to you all that are having issues with this type of situation of coming out and stuff is, realize that you are not alone. You have so many people in the world that love you and care about you for all that you are. My mother always used to tell me that, a quote by Dr. Seuss, "Those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind." And those are some of the most honest and true words that I have heard. And I would just like to say that, it doesn't matter your preference. It doesn't matter your likes and dislikes. All that matters is your happiness and what you can contribute to the world and the people and the society around you to make it stronger, to make it more beautiful, and bring yourself in the picture, You might be strange and you might be an outcast, but that is beautiful. The world is strange. The world as a planet is strange. If the world wasn't strange and bizarre and weird and, I guess, tainted from the norm or the majority, all of us would cease to exist, because the strangeness about the Earth and the planet is that it harbors life. Mars doesn't, Venus doesn't, the moon doesn't, and I guess that is kind of an analogy that I like to use in terms of differences, or when people say, I'm so weird, I don't fit in. You do fit in. You're exactly how you were intended. And just know that and go with it. Never let yourself down, never betray yourself. Because at the end of the day, you came into this world alone and you will leave it alone. And every experience that you go through along the way is intended for you. And don't trade that for anyone or anything, and don't miss out on that. This is your life. And I guess I would just like to leave this saying, if you have any problems, any situations, anything like that, and you would like someone to talk to, realize that myself and many of the people that are in the comments of a lot of these videos are all here for you. We are a community that needs to be here for one another, because we are all that we have, and we could save so many lives, we can help change so many lives. We just need to be willing to lend that hand out. So if you have any questions or anything, please leave me a comment or send me a private message. I will really try to get back to you and answer any problems that you have or any concerns that you're going through to the best of my ability. Thank you guys so much for watching. I just wanted to share this with you, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.